It is good to be here, and like Joseph said, I've gotten to be here several times before. Love this congregation and meeting new people every time I come, and just grateful for the work you guys are doing. As I was thinking about this sermon, I got the topic. I don't know. It's been a couple of months at least now, and so I've been chewing on it, thinking on it for a while, and I was thinking about simplicity and what that looks in life. And I kind of made a discovery about myself that I guess I wasn't real aware of. I mean, I was aware of it, but maybe had never put a name to it. I am an extremely simple person. And I'm not saying in a spiritual sense, I'm not trying to brag on myself. I'm saying kind of in like a boring, non-exciting type of a person's sense. And I was talking to my wife about it, and she's like, yeah, I already knew that. And so I called Joseph, and I was like, I'm getting excited about this thing, but I'm kind of discovering a lot about myself and realizing that I just live a life that's very simple. And so, if you will, we're gonna look through a lot of scripture, but I thought I would share this with you as we got going. As I was thinking about ways that I'm simple, I have very simple taste. So Joseph knows this about me, but I mean, I eat almost the same thing every day. I'm not kidding. I eat a smoothie or two every day. And not like a variety of smoothies. I've got two different types of smoothies, and I either rotate them every day or many, many days I eat one for one meal and one for another. That's what I eat. I pretty much only drink lukewarm tap water. I know people are like, get this guy out of the pulpit. Lukewarm water? We're not listening to him. But yeah, that's what it's good for you. Fine, I don't need ice. I just drink lukewarm water. Taste in clothes, the epitome of style to me is jeans and a black t-shirt. You can go anywhere in jeans and a black t-shirt. And for me, it has to be denim jeans. Now, when I say denim, again, this is how simple I am. They have recently, probably not even recently, probably for 15, 20 years now, I don't know. But at some point since the last time I bought jeans, they've started making men's jeans kind of stretchy. I hate that. I mean, I hate that with every fiber of my being. And my wife wanted me to get some more jeans. But all of my jeans don't stretch, and now they stretch. And she bought me some, and I wore them one time, and I said, give those away. I can never wear these. And so I am on my last 3 pairs of jeans for my life, and I have to make them last forever or start shopping at Goodwill and finding the old type of jeans because I just cannot wear the stretchy jeans. And I don't know why. I guess because I've always wore non-stretchy jeans. So I am simple-minded in every aspect of the multiple ways. Not a super smart guy, but things are very black and white to me. And that can frustrate a wife too, especially when we were first married and I would know that my way of thinking was right because it's always been right when I have handled this before. It took me a few years of marriage to realize there can be 2 rights. There can be 2 ways to approach something. And so I'm very simple-minded, and that is frustrating for my wife. She has told me before, you're a very black and white thinker, and there's just not a lot of gray. You need some wiggle room for the way you think, but that's just the way my mind works. I'm very simple emotionally. You know how people will preach and they'll talk about lessons or talk in their lessons about, hey, when somebody asks how you're doing, don't just give them a good, how are you? No, it's always good. That is exactly how I feel all the time. I don't have, thankfully, and I feel blessed about this, I don't have major emotional lows, but I also don't have super emotional highs either. I'm just always about a 7, which I think is pretty awesome. This is how I live. This is how I feel. So when you ask me how I'm doing and I say good, that's the real answer. And then I'm probably to a fault simple fiscally, financially. I mean, there are hundreds of examples of this, and again, my wife would say this is not a good thing. I don't eat out unless like I have to eat out with somebody. I drive old vehicles and never wash them or care about what they look like. They are just get me to from point A to point B. I don't know if I've ever bought something and didn't know what it cost. You know how like some people go shopping and they get to the register and they're like, wow, what a surprise. That's never happened with me. Like I can tell you what it's going to cost while it's in the cart because I'm looking at the price of everything that I grab. And so anyway, and I think about even minor purchases for years before I buy them. I've needed a rain jacket for like all of my adult life. And we were going to camp and I knew it was going to rain a lot out there. So I went to Walmart and I stood in front of the rain jackets literally 30 minutes. And I just looked at every one of them and I go, well, those are way too expensive. But these are going to fall apart and they're I ended up leaving without a rain jacket and said, how bad could it be just to be wet for a week? Seriously. I mean, that's a true story. And so I was telling a guy, I saw a guy at church with a rain jacket, and I said, that's a really nice jacket. I've been looking for one. Where'd you get it? And he told me, Eddie Bauer. I didn't know what Eddie Bauer was. I'd never heard of it. And I found out later that it is kind of a nicer end store. And so once I found that out, I was like, well, I'll never go there and get that. This man is super kind, a mentor of mine. He bought me an Eddie Bauer rain jacket. And he said, I left the price tag on. He said, this is a gift, but just in case you need to exchange it for a size. And I was like, thank you so much. And I was like, it's high end. I bet this thing may cost like $40. It cost $120. And I feel horrible. I feel so bad. He was doing a nice thing for me, but I'm like, he spent $120 for me on a rain jacket. And so now I wear it because I need to, because he gave it to me. And I feel horrible every time that this man did this nice thing for me. These are not the lessons. This is not the way that I want you guys to be. I'm just telling you, a lot of times preachers come in and say, hey, I'm preaching at me as much as I am you. I may be on the other side of I need to be a little less simple, but we're going to get to the Bible stuff about this. I do think simplicity as a spiritual discipline is something that we all need. We need to live lives of simplicity. We can overcomplicate this life and make it way, way harder than it needs to be. And I bet all of us in this room have done that throughout our lives at different moments. I just got through teaching in our college class at Durant about Ecclesiastes. And boy, you talk about a guy who overcomplicated life. At least in this part of his life when he's talking about all the things that he did. The Jews attributed this to Solomon, and I believe it is too. I think at the very least we're supposed to read it as if it is Solomon. But I think Solomon wrote it. But it seems that Solomon really started trying to find purpose and meaning in this life. He uses the phrase over and over again in this book, under the sun. And what he means by that is on earth, this current life that we're living in. And so he is searching desperately to try to find meaning, to try to find purpose under the heavens or under the sun. And most of our reading is going to come from this tonight. So if you want, you can open up with me to Ecclesiastes. He sets out on this experiment, is kind of what I call it, trying to see what is the true purpose of this life under the sun. Look at Ecclesiastes 1, verse 12. I, the preacher, have been king over Israel and Jerusalem and I have applied my heart to seek and to search out by wisdom all that is done under heaven. It is an unhappy business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with. I have seen everything that is done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and striving after the wind. What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be counted. I said in my heart, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were over Jerusalem before me, and my heart has had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. And I applied my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceive that this also is but striving after the wind. For in much wisdom is much vexation, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. So he's seeking and he's searching for meaning. We know Solomon, wisest man that ever lived, and so he says, I've got all this wisdom. I'm going to figure out what the purpose of life is. And if anybody could be able to figure out what the purpose of life under the sun is, it would be this guy. And he tells us what his conclusion to the experiment is before we even get started, before he lists all the things that he did. He said it's striving after the wind. It's vanity. And that word vanity is hevel. It's like a mist, something that can't be held onto. It's pointless. That the world is broken and there's nothing we can do to fix it. All of this wisdom that Solomon had as he goes through this experiment, it only causes him more and more pain because he can't get it figured out. He can't find true meaning under the sun without God. I want to go through some of the things that he tried to do to find meaning in this life. Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 1. I said in my heart, come now, I will test you with pleasure. Enjoy yourself. But behold, this also was vanity. I said of laughter, it is mad. And of pleasure, what use is it? I searched with my heart how to cheer my body with wine, my heart still guiding me with wisdom, and how to lay hold on folly till I might see what was good for the children of man to do under heaven during the few days of their life. So Solomon thinks maybe the meaning of life is to just have fun, to enjoy it. And so he tries that. And you talk about a guy that can experiment with whatever pleasures he's want. He's got the power, he's got the money, he can have whatever he wants. And he says it was pointless. There was nothing to it. It was striving after the wind. He goes so far and he says he does this in his own wisdom. He doesn't turn to alcohol just because he's like, well, that will be pleasurable. It's kind of like the last straw of is pleasure the answer to life. And so he says in his wisdom, he guides himself there to see if he can act foolish. He thinks that the people that do that are foolish, but he's like, maybe they've got the secret to life and I'm the fool because I'm not doing it. So he starts drinking a lot and he finds out, nope, they really are just fools. And he says, pleasure is not the meaning to life and there is no point in it without God. So he continues on in verse 4, trying to find other things that maybe is the meaning. I made great works. I built houses and planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens and parks and planted in them all kinds of fruit trees. I made myself pools from which to water the forest growing trees. I bought male and female slaves, and I had slaves who were born in my house. That one's for the next one. Let's stop there at verse 6. So he works on his own place. You know, and with all of these things, haven't we seen people trying to find meaning in life with that the meaning to their life under the sun is pleasure? How many of those people are truly happy? How many of the people that like get whatever they want are happy? Or the more that they get, the less happy they are, the more depressed they are. But we also see people who are like, well, what if I put everything into my place? And people work so hard to get money to get a bigger place, and they'll move 5 or 6 times trying to upsize and upsize and upsize. And then we start, as they get older, seeing them go the other way. Well, if it's too big now, the secret is to go smaller and smaller and smaller. And they're searching. Well, what if we added a pool? Well, what if we added an orchard? Well, what if I bought 40 hunting acres somewhere? Like, if I could just have all of these things and my place could be good enough, then I would find some purpose and some meaning. And we see people dedicate their lives to this. When they're young, they may buy a house that they can't afford and they spend the rest of their life trying to figure out how to get it. Or maybe they save their money, but they always in their mind are like, one day I'm going to have that spot that's going to bring me fulfillment. When they finally have the money, they get it. Do you think that it's going to be everything that they thought it was going to be? I'm not saying any of these things are bad. I'm not saying having a home and working on it and making it the way you want it to be is bad. I've got a little house and 7 acres and a garden, and I love working at my place. But I understand, and Solomon is trying to teach us, that you're not going to find the true purpose and meaning of life there. And so he didn't find it in his home and in his possessions, we're going to see as well. Look at verse 7. I bought male and female slaves and had slaves who were born in my house, and I had also great possessions of herds and flocks, more than any who had been before me in Jerusalem. I also gathered for myself silver and gold and the treasure of kings and provinces. I got singers, both men and women, and many concubines, the delight of the sons of man. So he starts just gathering stuff. The home doesn't do it for him, so he's got to gather things. He's got an abundance of slaves, cattle, sheep, silver, gold, and treasure. He's gathered singers and concubines for his own entertainment. Maybe all of these things will make me happy. You know, for us, it might be like, so I got a couple of vehicles, I got some money in the bank, I got the big flat screen TV, I've got the entertainment room. My personal thing that I would put on the list for me would be a golf simulator in a room. Like, that would be the thing. Surely if I have that, that's going to make me happy and everything's going to be good. And so we could put lots of things on that list of like, and this is really kind of the way the American dream is sold to us. Just get that next thing and you're going to be happy. And then we get it. Well, that wasn't it. Maybe I didn't get a big enough one or an expensive enough one. Maybe I didn't get enough of them. I need to get more of them. And we just keep on and on and on and more, give me. And it's never ending. We're never satisfied and we always want more. And because of that, our lives are not ones that are simple. He says all that he has was the delight of the sons of man. Meaning the things that he had, everybody else in the world, they're so jealous of what he has. If I could just have the things that Solomon had, and he tells us, it didn't do it. It wasn't the answer. None of it actually brought him the happiness and the meaning that he was looking for. He continues on in verse 12. You know, he was very wise, and so maybe wisdom is where we'll find the meaning of life. Verse 12, so I turned to consider wisdom and madness and folly. For what can the man do who comes after the king? Only what has already been done. Then I saw that there is more gain in wisdom than in folly, as there is more gain in light than in darkness. The wise person has his eyes in his head, but the fool walks in darkness. And yet I perceive that the same event happens to them all. Then I said in my heart, what happens to the fool will happen to me also. Why then have I been so very wise? And I said in my heart that this also is vanity. For of the wise as the fool there is no enduring remembrance, seeing that in the days to come all will have been long forgotten. How the wise dies just as the fool. So I hated life, because what is done under the sun was grievous to me. For all is vanity and striving after the wind. Solomon sees that, yes, living in wisdom is a better life than just living foolishly, but it isn't the meaning to life. It isn't like we can get enough education or be smart enough or wise enough that we cracked the code to have the meaning of life. Because he keeps coming back to, no matter how smart I am, no matter how many secrets of the universe I unlock, the same thing's going to happen to me that the fool. We're both going to end up in the same place, in the ground. And so he is not satisfied even with wisdom as being the meaning to life or something that can bring him happiness under the sun. You know, Solomon's almost too smart for his own good because he's seeing the answer over and over and over again. It's not here under the sun. That you can't enjoy life as wise as he is, at least not without God, because you know how it's going to end. You keep looking forward and seeing we're all headed to the same place. No matter what I think is going to bring me joy, it all ends at the grave. It all goes away. None of this is eternal. None of it lasts. And he keeps running into that. Maybe it's work. We see so many people who try to find their purpose in their job and in the work that they do. You know, that's one of the first questions that we ask people, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we almost make it our identity. This is who I am because this is what I do. Look at verse 18. I hated all my toil in which I toil under the sun, seeing that I must leave it to the man who will come after me. And who knows whether he will be wise or a fool. Yet he will be master of all for which I toiled and used my wisdom under the sun. This also is vanity. So I turned about and gave my heart up to despair over all the toil of my labors under the sun, because sometimes a person who has toiled with wisdom and knowledge and skill must leave everything to be enjoyed by someone who did not toil for it. This also is vanity and a great evil. What has a man from all the toil and striving of heart with which he toils beneath the sun? For all his days are full of sorrow, and his work is a vexation. Even in the night his heart does not rest. This also is vanity. He says, everything that I'm working for, the old saying, you can't take it with you, he realizes that. That this is just going to belong to someone else, and I don't know if they're even going to appreciate it. They may be a fool. They may accept all of this and squander it or lose it in a moment. And so, you know, people work hard. Some people work really hard and gather all their lives, and they have all of this stuff, and maybe they have a lot of money in the bank. And then what happens most of the time? Their kids get in fights over who's going to get what. And it splits up the family. Everything that they worked for ended up being a curse. My dad told me a long time ago, don't be looking for an inheritance. we don't have one for you. And so because of that, I guess me and my siblings get along. We're not fighting for who's going to get what. In fact, like they've got a shipping container that's got a bunch of junk in it. We're kind of fighting for who has to take that and sort through the stuff and get rid of everything. But anyway, Solomon finds, man, my labor isn't where it is, what's going to make me happy either. He's trying over and over and over again. Do you see, when I read through Ecclesiastes, it is a book of desperation and depression in my mind. He is searching so desperately to try to find meaning, and nothing is answering the call. And so he says this in verse 24, there is nothing better for a person than that he should eat and drink and find enjoyment in his toil. This also I saw is from the hand of God. For apart from him, who can eat or who can have enjoyment? For to the one who pleases him, God has given wisdom and knowledge and joy. But to the sinner, he has given to the business of gathering and collecting, only to give to the one who pleases God. This also is vanity and striving after the wind. Solomon says, under the sun, I guess the best thing you could do is try to enjoy the things in this life. Like you can hear him saying like, it's like the best I can find. And he says, but even that is not enjoyable without God. Because we must recognize where the things we can enjoy under the sun come from. Without God, we aren't able to eat that good meal. Without God, we aren't taken care of to enjoy the pleasures of this life. And so even in this, when he's trying to concede, like, I guess this is the best thing life has to offer under the sun, he realizes it's not truly under the sun. Because all of this is provided from God. And so he says, really, even this alone, without God, is just striving after the wind. He's coming to some conclusions here. There is nothing good under the sun. There is nothing here that lasts forever. There is no meaning without God. There is no purpose. And so that brings us, after this experiment, he will expand on all of this stuff through the rest of the book. Give Ecclesiastes a read. It is a great book. But when I taught it, I actually started in this chapter. I read verses 6 through 8 to my college students first because I wanted them to understand, hey, he knows the answer. I want us to know the answer the whole time that we're going through it. So I actually started in this spot and then we worked our way back to it. But this is the point of what Solomon has sought out. He has been trying to figure out what is the point of life. And so we get to chapter 12 and he says, remember also your Creator in the days of your youth before the evil days come and the years draw near of which you will say, I have no pleasure in them. And then he gives this little poem. It's a really neat poem where he describes what it's like as our bodies age and we get older. And he does that in some interesting ways. But it makes us think about how gracious God is to us to be able to age. Have you ever thought about that? Like, from the time, I don't know when we would start saying our bodies start going downhill, but I'm definitely on the other side of it. And he like slowly is letting me die. Like, seriously, my body is slowly wearing out. And I should be getting this, that I'm not going to live here forever. God is so gracious and good to us to remind us, you're not going to be staying here forever. You need to remember me. You're getting closer. And then it's like some of us are so shocked when death is right around the corner. It's like God has been telling us for a long, long time, this is coming. Remember me. And so with that in mind, let's skip down to verse 6. I think it's verse 13 is where I want to be. The end of the matter, after all has been heard, fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. It's such a simple concept, but I love that Solomon takes 12 chapters. He could have wrote that just one sentence, but do you think we would have understood it? He's saying, trust me. You guys need to listen to me. I've sought this world out. I've done everything a person can do. I've owned everything that a person can own. I've experienced all there is to experience. And it's vanity. It's hevel. It's striving after the wind. Let me tell you what is the one thing that matters. Fear God. Fall on your knees in reverence before Him and listen to Him and obey Him. That is everything. If there's a person we should ever listen to who can save us some heartaches, it's Solomon. If you want to experience all the heartaches that he did, try to make your home here under the sun. Chase after all the things that this life has to offer. You'll find the same thing. Vanity. Nothingness. I don't know if any of y'all have ever sat with people as they are coming to the end of their lives. Boy, when you know your time is near its end, the things you care about really start to shrink, doesn't it? All of a sudden, you're not worried about how many possessions you have, how popular you were, how the job's going. I've sat with quite a few people in their dying days, and your focus really becomes refined to what's important. And people start thinking about what's next. And maybe some of them, it's the first time they've ever thought about that. Solomon's telling us, do it now. Don't wait. Remember the Creator while you're still young. I love this verse from Paul in Romans chapter 13. He says, besides this, you know the time, that the hour has come for you to wake from your sleep, for salvation is nearer to us now than when we first believed. You know, a lot of people see this ticking clock and our death is coming. They see that as a horrible, horrible thing because they see it as party's over. That's it. That's all there is. Paul sees it as salvation. I am closer now to salvation than when I first believed. I think all of you know this. Salvation only comes through our death, unless the Lord comes back first. None of us are getting out of this alive. But death for the Christian, that's not a horrible thing. That is how we are going to be reunited with our Father. We need to be looking forward to that time. And I'm not saying that the transition's easy. I'm not necessarily looking forward to death. It can be a rough transition. But I am looking forward to what comes after death. I am looking forward to salvation that's only found in Jesus. And so as we look at all of this and we see what Solomon has taught us, I want to give us some things to help us make this practical. Because this is about spiritual disciplines. I love y'all's series because it's about things that Christians should be doing, but we can be training in. And so this would be the training portion. How do I get better at living a purposed life of simplicity? Well, I think number one is you've got to prioritize your life. I think Solomon figured that out as he went through and tried all these different things, and he comes to the conclusion and he says, the end of the matter is this: fear God and keep His commandments. I also think about that when we see the story of Mary and Martha, and you remember how that goes. Martha was being hospitable and doing her best to try to take care of people, and that responsibility kind of fell on her and her sister, that people are in their homes and she's cooking and she's cleaning and she's serving, and she gets upset because her sister is not helping at all. And I got to tell you, I've been there where I'm doing a lot of work and other people are just sitting around, and I get upset about it too. I understand exactly what she's thinking. But the reason her sister wasn't helping was because she was sitting at the feet of Jesus while He was teaching. And she was soaking up every word that He had to say. Well, Martha comes to Jesus and says, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? She's coming to Jesus because He is the teacher. He's the one that can set her straight. And so she's walked by one too many times and she's had enough. Jesus, you know how ridiculous this is. It is her job to be helping. And here she is being lazy. She is shirking these responsibilities. Tell her to get up and help. Kind of publicly embarrassing Mary. But Jesus turns it on its head, as He does, as almost everything in His kingdom is. And He says to her, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. One thing. You know, there are so many things that Satan will try to distract us with, to pull our attention away from the one thing that matters. Fear God. Keep His commandments. Here's something that I think we all need to do in order to practice spiritual simplicity. Choose God as priority number one and never turn away from that. Boy, it makes the choices in your life simple when you say, God comes first. Then all of a sudden, every choice is basically made for you. Should I go to work or church? God comes first. How are we going to play in these sports things and also go to all the youth events? Well, God comes first. Work that out how you will. What job should I have? Frankly, I don't care unless it pulls you away from God. How should I raise my family to love the Lord? Life just gets very simple when we prioritize God as the number one thing in our lives. And that's what I try to teach when college students are ready to become Christians and I'm studying with them. That's what I try to tell them. Like, you're not even going to know all the decisions that this is going to change in the outcome of your life. But what you have to do right now is say, I love the Lord, I will listen to Him, and I will obey Him no matter what. And however that changes my life, I will have faith and trust in Him that it is for my good. Choose God, put Him first. Life suddenly gets very, very simple. This is one that may sound kind of weird, but as I was thinking about how to apply this, I think it's extremely important. Stop ignoring death. I have a lot of college students, and college students are typically 18 to 22, nowadays 18 to about 28, 30. Sometimes it takes them a while, and that's okay. But I have a lot of them that have never been to a funeral. They never went to see their grandma and grandpa while they were sick. And they're very afraid to even think about death. Their parents have shielded them from it. And I don't have kids. I always give disclaimers. If I give parenting advice, y'all can just throw it away and say, he doesn't get it because he doesn't have kids. That's fine. If I had kids, I would not shield them from death. I mean, they need to know. They need to understand. In fact, I take my college kids into some spots where they have to be around dying people and sick people. And I want them to be there with them through their suffering. It is so sad to me when we are too scared to sit with people in times of their deepest need because we don't want to admit that death happens. Every Sunday, we go to the nursing home, and one of our former students, her dad has ALS, which is a degenerative disease. And it is horrible to watch, to be quite honest. And unless the Lord intervenes, you kind of know how this ends. Your body keeps degenerating until you can't really even swallow anymore. There's probably coming a day where this guy that we visit, his name's Tommy, where he won't even be able to talk with us. And I've just warned our college students, we will just go and sing to him then. We will do whatever we need to do to be with him. But it is a reminder every time I go visit him that this life is very temporary and there are very few things that matter. I've sit, for not being super old, I've sit with a lot of people in their last moments while they're dying. I think about my own demise pretty often, and that may sound weird to you guys, but I don't want to be fooled. I don't want it to sneak up on me. I want to know that driving home, this could be my last hours, and be okay with that. Because my faith and my trust and my hope is in Jesus. It's not under the sun. It's what's coming next. God said in Genesis 3, you are dust, and to dust you shall return. We need to understand that. In James, we're told that our life is like a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes away. I would say we need to put some thought into our own brevity of life, our own mortality. And that only should shift our hope to the one who is righteous, to the one who has conquered death, Jesus, and help us to follow him better and better. I think living, understanding death will help make life pretty simple, because all of a sudden it's not about the things under the sun. It's about what is coming next. Finally, I think training to live a life of simplicity, we need to live in contentment and gratitude. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6 says, "But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into the world, and we cannot take anything out of the world. But if we have food and clothing, with these we will be content. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation, into a snare, into many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people to ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and have pierced themselves with many pangs." With food and clothing. And Paul says, that's all I need. If I've got something to wear and I've got some food to put in my belly, that's enough. That's a guy that's looking beyond this life, isn't he? We need a little more of that. We need to live with gratitude for what we have and contentment with what we have. I'm not picking on anybody because I normally would fall into this too, or at least I did growing up. But I've got a lot of college kids that are extremely picky in what they eat. Like, I don't eat that, I don't eat this. I've been blessed, and it's shaped my worldview a lot. I've been blessed to do several week-long mission trips in Nicaragua. I've been doing that for like 15 years. Nicaragua is a third world country. And without like trying to hurt their feelings or anything, and I get it's the situation that we grow up in, but I've never met a picky person in Nicaragua. Not once have we offered something to a child and they say, "Ooh, I don't eat that." Never. And I fall into this too. One time we were serving hot dogs to kids, and in Nicaragua, if they've got the condiment, it's going on the hot dog. These were the juiciest hot dogs I've ever seen. They looked disgusting. Relish, mayonnaise, mustard, sandwich spread, ketchup. I mean, you bite into the dog and it's just running off. I didn't want one of those hot dogs. There was not a single kid there that complained about anything. The women making them didn't ask the kids, "Hey, which one of these things do you want?" Everybody got the same thing. And everybody was so happy to have it. I think we have to work at this more than any other time in history, any other place in history. There's never been a people who have so much comfort and so many choices and what does that do to us? It just makes us say it's not enough, it's not good enough, it's not what I want, I should have had that. We have to be very careful. As American Christians today, we've got to work to be grateful and content. But if we can learn that, the simplest pleasures seem so good, seem like blessings from God because they are. Think about what you have. Think about your blessings, like the song says, count your blessings and give God the credit for them. Simplicity when it comes to living for the Lord is a good thing. You know, simplicity like the way I am, I'm not asking y'all to be like that. It's probably not even healthy. I don't know. My wife would say probably not. But when it comes to serving the Lord, life is very simple, and it is pretty black and white. There's only one thing that matters. Jesus is the answer to everything. We must follow him and be looking forward to the day that we can be reunited. If you have a need this evening, we want to be here for you. If you need the prayers of the church, that's what we're a family, and we're ready to pray with you and for you. If you're not a Christian yet, it's pretty simple. You should be. Because Jesus has paid the debt and our sins can be forgiven. If you have a need, let us help you. You can come forward as we stand and sing.